Greetings, everyone. So what time is it? It is Monday. Mo Money time. Welcome to Mo Money Mondays here on All About Us Radio. So happy to be with all of y'all tonight. Of all the places you could have been, I'm excited that you've decided to be here with me so that we can talk about your money game. And here on Mo Money Mondays, we get together every Monday night just to talk about money making sense. So I'm always dropping nuggets. We've got a great show lined up for you. So let's get started. Tonight, I was very intentional about what I wanted to talk about. And I do a segment. I have a character that is not just Vanda. Well, I'm Vanda. Let me just start with that. And I've been hosting this show for months now. And I'm a financial broker. I'm an independent broker, financial specialist. Financial services are my game. And I have a company called the Jamison Legacy Group. But out of that company has come a character called Vanda Vision. And so in character, I'm always dropping nuggets along the way. And so I do financial tips of the day. And so tonight, what I wanted to share was a few financial tips. I'm getting such great feedback. And, perhaps for me, they're so ordinary because this is what I do. But I have been privy to the idea that there's a lot for people to learn. And so I'm really happy to share here tonight. So let's get started. What do we know? What don't we know? I always say, you can't know what you don't know. So as long as you decide to start at some time, that's all that matters, is that you get started. Doesn't matter what time of the game you're starting, as long as you get started. So I wanted to share, as a broker, I also am an insurance broker. I help people with retirement plans, annuities, college funds. And one of the questions that comes up very often is, what is your net worth? And folks always look at me like, oh my God, I don't have a net worth. And I'm like, of course you have a net worth. What is the formula for your net worth? Well, I'm going to tell you. So you can figure out what your net worth is by totaling all of your assets. Your assets would be everything that's liquid and not so liquid. So that would be any property that you own, any funds or investments that you own, your bank account or money market accounts or 401ks. Those are your assets. So then you take your assets and you deduct your liabilities. So what does that look like? Well, your liabilities are all of your overheads. So that might be your student loan, right? What's the balance of your student loan? All of your credit card debt. What else? Your car payment, right? If you own a vehicle and you are making payments, your car payment, your mortgage, your rent, your general overhead cost of living. So you've totaled your assets, you've totaled your liabilities, and now you deduct your liabilities from your assets. And that will give you your net worth. And believe it or not, it is a common question sometimes that we're asked, especially when we are applying for financial vehicles or commodities. And I always say we must have a plan. Okay. So guys, plan. If you don't have a budget, let's create one. One of my other tips is take a daily money minute. What does that mean? That means set aside 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes every day to check your financials. Whether that's going online to your bank account just to see what's come in, what's gone out, that's checking on your financials, or whether you're going to open up mail to see what's come in, credit card statements, that sort of thing. Even though I have gone green, there are so many times that I am still getting mail from credit card companies. So sometimes going green does not mean that you are no longer getting hard copies. Okay. So, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's reviewing your budget on a daily basis, going through your bank accounts, your savings accounts, your checking accounts, your money market accounts. But I want to encourage you to set aside just a couple of minutes every day to check on your financials. So another big one that I've actually been able to create a lot of hoopla around. I actually do a show around the concept of paying yourself first. Pay yourself first. What does that mean? Well, isn't it interesting that we have been so conditioned, I want to call it, or we're accustomed to, paying everyone else before we pay ourselves. For some folks, it's not even a concept to pay themselves at all. And usually, what we do is we pay the rent, we pay the mortgage, we pay our utilities, we make the credit card statement payment, and then we just have whatever's left over for ourselves. And so, when you adopt the mindset of paying yourself first, that means that you become your first bill, so to speak. Perhaps allocate, 20%, 30% is great if you can, but try to allocate a minimum of 20% to yourself, 20% of your income towards your financial priorities. And that may look different for different people. Perhaps you have stocks, or perhaps you have cryptocurrency, or maybe you have a money market account, or maybe you're just putting it in your regular old savings account. But the idea is try to build up that fund for yourself, okay? Making yourself a priority before anyone else. We have taught ourselves to make everyone else a priority. But when you can actually transform that mindset and build up your emergency savings, and putting, let's say your retirement nest egg aside, it becomes a muscle that you're flexing. And you'd be surprised how simple it becomes after a while. What happens with me is that it's not necessarily 20%, let's say, or some weeks I might fall short and I can't do as much, but I do something. And then perhaps in a few weeks, I can make up for the loss that happened 2 weeks prior. So, but it's just a matter of flexing that muscle. Here's another tip. We keep hearing about vision boarding, right? And how important that is to manifesting our dreams. Well, how about drafting a financial vision board? What would that look like? Mine would have dollar signs all over it, and money bags, and no, but really, what would that look like for you? So if you need motivation to start adopting better money habits, you can craft a vision board, and it can help to remind you to stay on track of your financial goals. So if your goal is that mansion, or a boat, or that Lamborghini, whatever that is, start posting it. What are your money goals? Put them out there. I know lots of folks have like their wedding on their vision board, right? They're looking for a husband, wanting to get married or have the children. So I want to encourage you to stack those photos, those pictures of your money game. Okay. Another one that I think that we take for granted because we don't think that there's a connection, is Love yourself. Mm, love yourself. What does that mean? Sure, it sounds corny, right? It sounds really corny. Um, but we all know that we could use a little bit more self love, right? And it works. It works. When you start to pay attention and take care of yourself, it helps you to have courage to address your finances and take control of all parts of your life. It's really interesting. But just try it. Create some self love habits and start incorporating that into your daily life. And it may start with just a bath. Maybe it's a bubble bath for yourself at the end of the day. But my theory is that, or my actual proof, I've had actual proof, is that this will grow into other areas of your life and eventually hit the financial pocket of your life, just in loving yourself, right? So here's an important one. Never, ever, ever, ever co-sign a loan. Oh, how many parents have done that for their children? I know. Even my mom did that for me, right? But especially once you start getting to relationships and partnering or best friends, right? Zip, nada, don't do it. If the borrower, your friend or your family member, or even your significant other, right, your partner, misses a payment, it's your credit score that will suffer and take the plunge. So, and then the lender can come after you for the money. I know some of y'all know what I'm talking about, right? How many of you all have had this happen where, oh, and they're sorry, but you still take the hit? So I don't know if there's that much sorry for me. Anyway, it's just a good rule of thumb, and folks can be very convincing, and you really want to help them. I understand. But sometimes not only will it destroy your credit score, it can also destroy your relationship. Okay. So please keep that in mind. Um, here's one for that I like. Here's one for the books. I just recently posted this too. Spend your money on experiences, not things. And we've all known that person that bought that Chanel bag, right? And spent $5,000, $10,000, $12,000 on a purse. And that's really nice. It's nice if you can. And I understand really wanting to, mark your life that way. But honestly, putting your money towards purchases like a concert or, you know, a retreat. I do that for myself all the time. A retreat. Instead of spending on pricey material objects, will actually give you more happiness, a better bang for your buck, and a memory. So think about that. It sounds, once again, that sounds really insignificant and corny, right? So there was this idea also that I had, and I was thinking, I read something, I don't remember where it was, about focusing and developing the real you, not the imaginary you, not the you that you want to be, not that person that your mom or dad wants you to be, and think about how we do that. How many of us have ended up in college studying a course line that we weren't really interested in, but it's what our family wanted, or my dad really wants me to play ball, or we do it all the time. We don't even realize that we're doing. So I think the same happens when we're spending money. We spend money on this person that we want to be. Okay, think about that. It's kind of like an imaginary self. And it's easy to fall into this trap of buying for the person you want to be. Here's a funny one. It's kind of like I've actually bought clothes for the thinner me. Okay? For the smaller me when I lose weight. Oh, guess what? They're still hanging in the closet with tags on them. So this is why I know what I speak. Okay? So I'm here to tell you, spend money on the real you. Don't spend money on the imaginary you. Um, it'll save you a lot of money in the end. Okay. So I share that from my heart, from my own personal experience. But whatever you do, start saving ASAP. That's what I encourage. However you decide to do it, whatever amount you decide to do, don't do what other people are doing. Do what you want to do, what you can do, what you determine for yourself. Make that your own determination. But not next week, not when you get a raise, not next year. Start today, start tomorrow, because the money you put away for yourself, let's say in a retirement fund, will have more time to grow. And the more time you have, the more capacity you have for enjoying the power of compound growth. Okay. So start now. Don't start later. Another tip I have is that when you get a raise, how many of you have gotten a raise this year? Going back to work, did you get a raise? I hope you got a raise. Okay. So, you know how you've always told yourself you were going to save more when you have more, right? How many of us have done that? Have you done that? Well, I'm calling you out on that. Okay. So every time you get a bump in pay, I challenge you. The first thing that you should do, an automatic transfer to yourself, an automatic transfer to that account where you are paying yourself first, and increase it when your salary increases. We forget that. I also recommend that you do that with your credit cards. When you get a bump in pay, go back and whatever your monthly credit card deposit is, increase it. We forget that. And we've we're sending $300 for 10 years, but we've already changed jobs twice, gotten a better increase in salary. So remember, pay yourself first. Now, here's a tip that always comes in handy. When it comes to credit, I am not a credit expert, but I am going to give you a tip that can really help you to become an expert at raising your credit limit. Keep your credit use below 30% of your total credit. Guys, I'm giving you nuggets that the wealthy use. Okay, so if we can follow certain guidelines, this is how they create their wealth. Got to start somewhere. It doesn't just happen overnight and boom, you're a millionaire. So these are strategies that wealthy people use. That's why I'm sharing. I'm just close to that six-figure earner. I'm not a millionaire yet, but just you wait. Keep your credit score. Use. Did you hear me? Use. In other words, the amount that you're spending below 30% of your credit availability. So if your credit limit is, I don't know, $10,000, that means that you should not have more than $3,000 worth of billing on that credit card, 30%. This will keep your credit score at a higher level. Once you exceed that 30% of your total credit limit, your score goes boom down. So for those of you, and I've been there, that say, well, darn, I am paying my credit card off every month. In fact, for the last 6 months, I've been paying 2 payments a month, right? And you just don't understand, why is my credit score not booming? Well, look at your credit use versus your credit limit, and you will have your answer. Now, for those, that you guys know, right? For those of you that follow me, you know that I am a licensed insurance broker. So here's a tip that I want to share. Get more life insurance on top of your company's life insurance policy. Because the basic policy from your employer is not only is it really little, it's not going to be there later. And so what will happen is you will have spent 10, 15 years working with a company and you think you're all good. I have life insurance right through my company. Well, that was when you started at 25 and now you're 35 or 40 and you're no longer with that job. You've got a different employer. So what happened to that life insurance policy? Gone. It's back there with the employer. You can't take it with you. And if they tell you that you can take it with you, that's a fib. You can't take it with you. And hey, oh, okay, here's another one. And if they tell you you can take it with you, that might be true. But I'll tell you this, it's a higher premium because now you're no longer part of a group. So you don't get a group rate. You're going to be based on an individual rate, which means it's going to cost you more. And you're older. So it's really going to cost you more. So what I always advise is that right from the get-go. Yes, great that you've got life insurance through the job. Make that your second policy. Get your own policy outside of the job and do it while you're young. It will cost you so much less. And once again, financial tip, you're saving yourself money, right? How many of you have heard about opening up bank accounts with different banks to stash your money for different reasons? Oh, brilliant. Open a savings account at a different bank than your checking account. Have multiple accounts. I kind of use them like the envelope method. So we've heard this with credit cards, but I don't believe in credit. I mean, yes, we need to have a credit card or two, have one for an emergency, but it's also great to have different accounts for different reasons. So have an account that you pay yourself first in for maybe your car, right? Anything goes wrong with the car, that's the account that you pull from the car for the car. It's like a vacation fund, right? You have an account that you build for vacation or extracurricular activities, summer fun, that kind of thing. You can have an account to pay for your overhead. So you can actually use your accounts, right? Connect them to debit cards and pay for your life, kind of like the envelope. Have you heard of the envelope method? The envelope method is a method of saving where you put a certain amount of money in each envelope every week once you get paid. So you might have an envelope for rent. You might have an envelope for dining out. You might have an envelope for your clothing. Yeah, but now we've got technology and the internet, so you don't need envelopes anymore. You can just use debit cards and open up several bank accounts. How about that? Sounds good? Okay. Well, that's all I'm going to do today for Vanda Vision tips of the day on how to increase and fortify and strengthen your financial well-being. I'm so happy you're here with me. Momany Mondays here on All About Us Radio. I am your host, Vanda. We are going to go to a commercial break, and guess what? I've got a guest. So yeah, I've got a follower, a guest, but actually he has his own followers. So we'll be right back with Tommy Thompson, who has a few questions for me. We'll be right back.
Throw and Tuck. It's handmade by myself, and you only can get it here, and it's patent, and it's only here at Rococo Design. It's like a regular pillow, or you can take the blanket out like so, fluff up the pillow, open up your blanket, wrap it around yourself, and then you can lay on your sofa and relax with your pillow, throw and tuck. When you're done with it, just flip it over. When you don't want the blanket anymore, you just fold it over twice. Fold it over twice again. Fold it over. And tuck it in the back. And there you go. Get back to the pillow throw and tuck. The tuck of design.
Yes, I must get this pillow tuck. Welcome back. Welcome back. I am your host, Vanda. You are tuned into Mo Money Mondays here on All About Us Radio. Thank you so much for joining us and hanging with us and sticking around for the next part. So, Tommy Thompson is here with us tonight, and he actually appears on so many platforms that I do, always engaged, always inquiring more about tightening his money game. Tommy Thompson is a reflexologist, however, by way of Hollywood. Tommy Thompson, actor, singer, dancer, all of that. He's won an Adelco Award for Best Actor. He's toured with Lola Falana. He's just pretty brilliant. And I'm going to let him give the rest of his credentials. But let's bring him in. Welcome to Mo Money Mondays, Mr. Tommy Thompson. Hey there.
Good evening. Great to be here.
Greetings. Hey, Mr. Hollywood, how are you?
I am great. I am great. I am warm and cozy in my Harlem apartment.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for reaching out. And I really wanted to bring you on live to ask your question. But then I realized when I was talking about who I'm speaking with and introducing you, that I'm like, well, wait a minute. We've got a little legend here. So I'm going to give you a minute to just kind of share that, because when it comes to like business and, creating legacy and our own financial fortune, you come from a family that has done this and built empires, built legacy on Hollywood and stardom. So yeah, go ahead. You tell them. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, and just stop me if I, go on and on, because I can do that sometimes. But well, yeah, I definitely, as far as the entertainment industry, I stand on some amazing shoulders. And as you said, the work that I did with, actually, she's my cousin, Miss Lola Falana, when I was a younger fella, just working in New York in the theater. I toured with her as one of her dancers and backup singer.
Wow.
And just all over the country, and certainly all in Las Vegas. And it was amazing working and performing in front of vast audiences. It was really great. And so she took me on to work with her after I'd been doing some things in New York, and she was kind of happy about what I was up to. And I had done a tour with The Wiz, which was a phenomenal show. As most people know, I actually did The Lion and The Wiz on the road, and we traveled all over the country again. That was amazing. And I started out when I first came to New York, working, as a model and starting to do the acting. And early on, or into the late '80s, I was actually in a pageant. I was deemed Mr. New York State, Mr. Black New York State, in this wonderful pageant they've been having for African American males. And so I became a mentor, and that was a pretty amazing thing. But yeah, I've been touring and traveling. I worked with Dance Out of Harlem. I am in a production now that we are looking at taking to Europe, where I play Paul Robeson, and I'm excited about that. But, and yeah, I get some advice financially from my brothers, and I'm realizing that I'm going to do that much more. One of my brothers, of course, is his name is Billy Thompson. In 80s, early 90s, he was on the Lakers, NBA on the Lakers, and then from there he went to Miami Heat, and he is actually living in Boca Raton now, and I visit them often, and we talk, and I just finally got the courage to talk about finances, to talk about money, because I mean, He sure has it, and they travel. He and his wife all over the world, actually,
Good.
and they do a lot of speaking and that sort of thing. And my youngest brother is actually a financial advisor. He's been working with the company UBS for several years, and I finally got the courage to start talking to him. And I still have so many questions, as you know. I've sent in questions to you in the past, and I'm making, like, this is Christmas time, so I always kind of joke right about now. I'm making a list and checking it twice.
Excellent. Excellent. So do tell, with all of that money during your touring, I mean, it was family. Did you get paid though?
Oh my God, yeah. Oh
Oh,
wow. Oh
okay.
yeah. It was a job.
It was a job, a real job. Well, what'd you
Yeah,
do with all that money?
I spent it. Oh man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Money is to spend.
Yes, it's to spend, but I've been realizing, you know, well, actually, one of the first questions I have, I don't know if it's okay to start asking it, but
Oh, yes, please do ask. Ask your
okay,
question. Thank you for being here
okay.
to ask your question. I appreciate you.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, and I feel fortunate. I One of the very first questions is like, how do I know? Like, how do I know if I'm making the right choice about where I want to invest my money? I've not done that before. I just counted on savings accounts and banking accounts and that sort of thing. And when I wanted to buy something, wanted money, and I did not do any investing. So I'm looking at it now, and I just want to know, like, how do I go about knowing where to start?
Yeah, great question. Um, I always equate building our financial portfolio to the layers of an onion, one skin at a time, one piece at a time, and we layer our finances. It's not
Hmm.
something that can happen all at once, but number one, it's never too late. Number two, well, the actual answer that I have to that question is consider what you want your money to be used for. And that will help you decide what to do with your money. So, if you are looking for long-term legacy, let's say, assets to leave behind for family, children, nieces, nephews, whatever that is, then real estate may be a great investment.
Hmm.
If you are looking to have liquid money in 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, then real estate would not be a great asset for that particular desire, right? Something like an annuity or some type of fund that could actually accrue interest for a period of time and then pay you out significantly might be a better option. So I think time plays a role in helping us to make that decision. What we're going to need right away, what we're going to need later, and what we're going to leave behind, or what we're going to need even later than later. Do you understand that? Because there's also that period of time when we are older and maybe cannot work anymore. So that requires a fund of its own to take care of us that may call for more than just Social Security.
Yeah.
So, at least for me, what I do for myself and what I recommend is that we consider when we're going to want to access. So, some can be liquid and some can be not so liquid, but you can decide that based on the investment pieces that you determine where, once you determine where you'd like to put your money, I would look at that.
Got it. Yes, yes, yes.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it answered my question, and I'm certainly taking notes.
Okay, because when you're 20, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
You've got lots of time, so you're like, whatever. I leave everything. You can buy a house and let it sit for 30 years and then sell it. But when you're up there in age, now you really have time is a factor in all of it. So I want something that I can grab in 10 years. I want something I can grab in 15 years. I want something I can grab in 30, 40 years, so different investments.
Well, Vanda, I always hear you talk about, and you say that we should have a plan, like a plan. And well,
Yes.
what are some ideas that can help, like me to know and others to know, like how to start developing, like my own plan?
Hmm. I'm so glad you heard that. Yes, you have to have a plan.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Um, to really be financially solvent, you have to have a plan. Everyone get started on your plan. So, yeah, where do you start? Especially if you're not starting with a lot of money. Um, so, I would probably create a plan based on years, based on time. So, in other words, maybe have a 1 year plan, a 3 year plan, and a 5 year plan. So the 1 year plan may be like what you want to accomplish in the next year.
Mm.
What does that look like? I want, $10,000 savings in the bank. I want a 60-inch flat screen TV, short-term goals,
Mm. Mm.
right? So that might be within the next year and a half, because if you can determine your short-term goals, you'll have a better idea of like, well, how much do I need to accomplish my short-term goals? That may be, I want to make the family reunion next July,
Good.
and I want a flat screen TV, and I need to build my emergency fund to $10,000. Well, now the family reunion airfare and hotel is going to cost $3,000, and the flat screen TV is going to cost $800. And if I want to
Good.
have 10 that, well, now I've got a goal over the next year of $14,000.
Good.
And then I would develop a mid-range goal, which is like what's happening in my life in the next 3 to 5 years. So that might look like a down payment on a house or a car, or really finding my retirement fund and creating that, committing to that vehicle, right? That investment, but something that can be yours in 5 years. So that might help to determine your mid-range goal, right? With time. I love using time as my strategy for everything. And then
Mm.
like a long-term goal may be 5 years or more. So that might be, I don't know, what would be a long-term goal? Buying a building, right?
Good.
I don't
Good.
know. That was my mom's long-term goal. She wanted to build an apartment building. Like, what are the big items?
Yeah.
That retirement fund that I want to really establish 10, 15 years. So yeah, sometimes you can start a plan just by like looking at setting goals for yourself. And then the goals you can translate into, financial targets. And
Right.
next thing it only takes a few things on a list to have a plan. And then you
Mm.
build from there.
Mm.
So that's a great question. Have you started a plan? Do you have a plan like in your head now that I've kind of outlined some stuff? Does any of that
Yeah,
you
it rings. It
plan?
definitely rings true, and there's a lot to be said for um, repetitiveness, hearing things over and over again, and that's why I do my
Absolutely.
best to follow you, and on any site that you're doing, any platform that you're on. I've been doing my best to follow you, and keeping my ears open to other, messages and information about this sort of thing. Even earlier today, you were talking about the vision board, and having a vision board reflect even your financial desires and wants. So I'm really ready to crash into my magazines, and I have a
Isn't that
bare
a great
wall.
idea?
I have a
I
bare
love
wall when you walk
that.
into my apartment, and I've been saying I'm gonna put some things right. I'm gonna make a collage on my wall.
I love it.
Yeah, I want it
Yeah.
to hit me right when I come in. But
What's the dream?
yeah, so certainly, I mean,
Repetition is key.
hmm.
We're
Even when you
human.
talk about building, for my reflexology work, my holistic work. I'm so seeped in holistic well-being. That's why I took
Yes,
the
you are.
certification in reflexology, but also herbal counseling and all these things. Because our community, our health is so paramount, even to what we're talking about now, to our finances, our health and well-being, even on that level. So one of
Talk
my
about it.
one of my dreams and desires is a building, my own building for holistic services for our people in our community. So I didn't even realize, like, putting that on my plan, like, so to speak, putting that.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Ashe.
That's what it is.
Yes.
That's what it looks like. And so once now you know that you want a building, now you become more conscious financially of like what that might take. And
Yeah.
hence we are creating a goal. And then hence we have a plan.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I that's brilliant. Absolutely. And
One of the main things I keep getting when I do sit in on these platforms is that it's so important to get it out of your head and put it on paper.
put it on paper.
Put it on paper. Even if, like, for me, not thinking that I'm so adept at organizing the right steps on paper and the processes and all of that, but still just write it down, put it down. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, because what sings to your heart today may not sing to your heart next month. You know, but put it on paper anyway, because sometimes we have to drill down and really examine it, you know. And once again, is it the imaginary me, or is it the real me that wants this? You know, is this something that I've been told that I should have and that I want, or is this something that I really, really want? And so, perfect example, here we are, is that I always wanted the apartment next door. I wanted to combine, I live in a co-op. I wanted to combine my apartment with the apartment next door. And it's just been a dream that I've had on the table since I can remember. And I've lived here for over 35 years. So it's just always been a dream to expand that way. And I have other residents that have expanded that way. And finally, I'm the last. And it was impossible. It was not possible. I was not approved for that expansion. But it made me sit down and realize, where did that dream come from? I don't even know how I got to want that. Like, where'd that come from? Was that mine? Or was that an idea that my mom planted when I moved in here 38 years? Like, I don't even know where it came from. And I realized that, like, darn it, I'm thinking bigger. I need 12 rooms in a house. I don't need this studio part, you know, but once again, it was some other self. It wasn't the real me, you know, and I don't even know how the thought came. And that happens so often to us, that we are influenced by folks in our environment or family members. And we don't even realize that we are, you know, desiring goals that aren't really our goals, spending our money on things that aren't really for us. So I applaud you on this holistic building, this brick and mortar structure. It's brilliant. We're starting to see a little bit more of that. And I love that you identified, absolutely, this is connected to our financial well-being.
Ashe. Yes.
And, you know, don't get me started. I definitely think that there's a reason why we aren't seeing more facilities that do this, because Big Pharma would be out of luck, wouldn't they?
Oh, yes.
So that's a whole nother conversation, though. We're not going to have that conversation today. But yes, you know, and the healthier you keep yourself in life, the less money you will have to spend on medical bills. And so health is absolutely and indeed wealth.
Yes, indeed.
I love
that. I want to say that more often. I'm so glad you said that. It reminded me. Health is wealth. Yes,
health
indeed.
is wealth. It absolutely is. Well, thank you for reminding me and bringing that up. Yeah, perhaps we need to actually talk about that on a show. one day, because I don't know if people understand. And now in the health industry, I'm actually studying for my health license. I am not licensed in health, and it's something that I'm interested in doing because I have found that there are so many plans out there that can
Yes.
really help to insure people with illnesses, which is very, it's a new concept. It's expanding, that there are these possibilities, because you know health illness is so rampant. It's in our food is making us sick, our water is making us sick, our air is making us sick, our environment is making us sick. It's like, who's healthy? It's challenging to be healthy these days. And you've got fast food on every corner. And so I am challenged with studying for my health license. But
Bravo.
one of the things that has been done since, I think, 2014 or 2012 is preventive care. That was never an area
Yes.
of medicine in the past. So
Yes.
that is very recent, in the last 10 years or so,
Yes, indeed. Yes.
for us, preventive care. That we used to just go to the doctor. If you're old like me, old school, you went to the doctor when something was wrong, or for your school paperwork, right? For a checkup. You weren't going to the doctor as a preventive, like that just didn't, but it makes sense because it cuts down on costs. And so I like it. I like it.
It makes a lot of sense. And as you say, it cuts down on cost. And that's why here to now, most medical professionals, doctors, etc., they would not really school you too much in preventive care, because that would cut in on you coming and paying them for their services. So when you visited them, you'd sit there and they would address the condition right there with that. Here it is. Take these pills, take this, go. Not much conversation about how not to have to come too much longer there, but some things that we could do for ourselves, and to prevent having to come back. But you didn't get a lot of that. It's shifting. A lot of more consciousness is happening in the medical profession with individual human beings. So they are making it more prevalent that they speak to that, and it's a very good thing. Yes, indeed.
It is.
Well, I had just one more question. I actually wrote some things down because I may be able to remember scripts and lines and the plays and all that I do, but sometimes in everyday life, people ask me things. I'm like, duh, what? Can you write it down for me?
I'm there. I'm with you. I have to write down my thoughts sometimes just so I can remember them when I speak.
Yes. Yes, Ashe. Well, in some of the platforms, I've heard you recommend that people have a financial advisor, and I'm clear about that. Having someone to guide you, as I've been really starting to tag your coattails. But I have friends and even some family members, just close people in my life, that when I start talking about this newfound area that I'm really looking at progressing in, and they ask me, well, who are you talking to about it? And I share about you and your platforms. And then some of them are not even, of course, with Zoom and all this, we can be anywhere. But some of them ask me, well, how do you know who you can trust? How it's your money and stuff. And, who's going to do the best job for you? Who's really going to not just be worrying about them getting paid off of you and making money off of you, but how are they really in your corner? So how do you choose a good financial advisor? What could I tell them? What could I say? And no.
Yeah. Gosh, that's a really great question too.
Cool, baby.
Absolutely. It is so important to know who you're speaking with. And how do you know? Well, my training has been, if the person you're speaking with is not doing what they're telling you to do, then you're speaking to the wrong person. And I practice what I preach. So it's really wonderful that, like, I can speak with someone about a retirement plan or about certain types of accounts. But if I'm not walking the walk and talking the talk, then how can I encourage my clients to do the same? It's kind of like, yeah, how can you speak to a banker who has $3 in their account? And
right.
so, right. And so it is your right to ask. And I encourage you to ask, well, what do you have in place? And can I see it? Ooh, how about that? Will people show you accounts? Will people
Ooh.
show you a policy, their policies, their vehicles?
Mm.
Um, and that is one solution. I mean, because there are folks out there that need that level of security. But for me, the way I was taught and trained was that I first have to do the walk and then I can teach.
Mm.
And so that would be my answer, is make sure that your financial person is walking the walk and talking the talk. Ask them what they have. Ask them how many plans they have. Ask them what they started with. Well, what did you put in the plan? And how many years have you had it? And what's your vehicle? I mean, I'm not saying that you need to know what the balance is on all of their accounts, but
Yeah.
Their protocol, their financial portfolio is a great foundation to start with. Like, listen to, if you're going to tell me what to do, I'd like to know that you've done it yourself. Or it's kind of
Yes.
like, if you're not using your own product, then why should I?
Yes.
So I invite folks to ask, what do you have? And it makes a difference when I say to folks, this is my carrier. I actually have an account with this carrier. I actually have a policy with this financial house. I actually have this plan. I actually have this life insurance policy.
Yes.
I actually have three accounts with so and so. I closed an account because of this and this, and this is what happened. And I speak to my my fraud incident that happened and what I learned from that, as much as I speak about what I have in place. So yes, I would say when you're choosing a financial advisor, ask them what they have in place and find out what their own personal experience has been. And if I'm not buying life insurance from someone that doesn't have a life insurance policy. Okay.
It sounds so simple, but it is something that sort of one has to sit down and realize that you have that right, and that is the only way to move forward with certain things.
Yeah, you have that right. And here we have people selling forex and stocks, and they're multiplying in their recruiting. And so someone that can be training in these areas and can tell you what you need to do to buy and sell, then my question is, well, what do you have? And how much are you buying and selling?
Yes,
What does that look like? What's your profit been? How are you doing? How long have you had it? All those questions. Absolutely ask. That was an excellent question, Tommy. Thank you.
Oh, cool.
Good questions. I'm so glad you were here. This has been fun. So you guys, Tommy he's one of I'm going to call him our regular. He's a regular, and he does. You're so gracious with following me on all of my platforms and showing up wherever I'm at. And I'm so pleased to know that you've been learning and that you are really delving into this. I have watched your courage soar and expand.
Yes, indeed.
We're having conversations now that, were not happening months ago. So congratulations to you for taking this on, and your actual proof that it's never too late and you can start at any time. The piece is just to get started.
Yes.
Just to get started. I heard a really great little anecdote before we sign off that said, I heard I'm going to call him, he was a guru, financial guru. He's done it all. He's a, 7-figure earner in the industry. And I met him on Clubhouse. And he said that, folks are so afraid with their money that they don't want to move it. They don't want to risk, put it anywhere because they're so afraid that they may lose it. It's too risky. And he said that no knowledge is high risk. Knowledge and information creates low risk. So I'll say that again. No information, no education. So financial literacy is key. Will yield a high risk because yes, you can be taken, and money is something that, whatever your capacity, you don't have to know the ins and outs and everything and be an expert, but you do have to do a little homework. Just like folks are learning to put those eyelashes on and learning to do their own nails and dye their own hair. If we could put just as much effort towards what's going on with our money, we'd be in much better shape. So no knowledge, high risk, some knowledge, low risk. And so it's up to
appreciate you.
What your risk factor is. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not a high risk girl. So, and you guys, there's so many ways to study now. You can, there's books, Audible. You can have books read to you to study. You can go on YouTube and study. There are free workshops, and we've got technology and innovation and online. So, yes, it's true. We can't know what we don't know, but these days there's really not a lot of reason to not know. And with that, well, thank you so much, Mr. Tommy Thompson.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much
for joining us tonight. Guys, we are out of time. And that's all we've got for tonight. I just would like to say thank you so much for joining me here on Mo Money Mondays. I'm your host, Vanda of the Jamison Legacy Group. Do hope you'll come back again next Monday at 8 p.m. and join us. Okay, so stay safe, stay woke, and live each day with intention. Good night.
You're listening to All About Us Radio. We're live streaming 24/7, playing old school versus new school. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AAU Media, and visit our website www.aaumedia.com. Call us at 1-833-369-1444, extension 1, and leave us an inspirational message or request. You're listening to All About Us Radio.